going to keep warming up with some, I don't know if you noticed that last song, Till There Was You. That was Till There Was You, a love song. I think all those songs, Dodie Lee, they're all love songs for the upcoming weekend, the non-Jewish holiday, Valentine's Day, the non-Jewish Tu B'Av. So we're going to sing a nigun as warming up. This is a Yedid Nefesh nigun, my soulmate. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya 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 la la la. warming up. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're going to sing one of my favorite texts, this line from the Torah that says, Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. We're commanded to love our neighbor as ourselves. And there we come back to the theme of love. But how should you love your neighbor? As you love yourself. So I like to be reminded that means that I have to bring love to myself. And it's a commandment, so we're going to sing Hareini Mikabel Alai at Mitzvat Haborei Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Here's how it goes. Hareini Mikabel Alai Mitzvat Haborei Ve'ahavta l'reacha
Shabbat Shalom. And as Cantor Shpal mentioned, we are celebrating love, especially this weekend. And it's convenient because Shabbat is a day of love. And so I hope if you are with a partner, you are enjoying and appreciating your loved ones. And if you don't have a partner, it's okay, because it turns out that Shabbat is actually the partner of the community of Israel. There's a midrash that says that when God was creating the world, that Shabbat came to God and complained and said, every day of the week has a partner. Sunday has Monday, Tuesday has Wednesday, Thursday has Friday, but I don't have a partner. And God said, Israel will be your partner. So we celebrate our partnership with Shabbat this week and every week. We also want to especially acknowledge those who are in our community who have been in a house of mourning and are missing loved ones tonight. So will you join with me in the traditional words of mourning that should be coming up on the screen? Thank you. Please join with me. Hamakom yenachem etchem b'toch sha'ar avalei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May God comfort you among all those who mourn in Zion and Jerusalem. And we hope that you feel the warmth and love of this community, even through your screen. It's time to bring in some light, so let's first sing about it, and then we'll do it.
Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light of Shabbat. We light the lights of Shabbat. Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light of Shabbat. להדליק נר של שבת. Shabbat Shalom, as we watch the candles shine. Shabbat Shalom, cover the challah, pour the wine. Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light of Shabbat. We light the lights of Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, time to take a big deep breath. Shabbat Shalom, a special day for us to rest. Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light of Shabbat. We light the lights of Shabbat. Lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
It's my pleasure now to invite this weekend's bat mitzvah, Tali Lehrer, and her family to light the Shabbat candles and lead us in the blessings over candles and then over the wine. And we're going to hear a special melody for the candle blessing that is unique to the Lehrer family. So welcome, Tali and your family. And whenever you're ready, take it away.
Ready? Okay. 1, 2, and... La 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 Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher kitshanu mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. B'Shabbat kodesh. That's okay. That's okay. B'Shabbat ratzon hintilanu. Zikaron Lamasa Breshit Kihu Yom Tehillah Lemikra Kodesh Zecher L'Tziat Mitzrayim Kivanu B'Charta Yotanu Kidashta Mikol Hamim V'Shabbat Kodeshecha Be'ahava Uvratzon Hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim. Thank you, Tali, for a very joyful candle blessing and Kiddush. We turn now to page 138 as we welcome in that Sabbath bride, Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad hishmianu, el hamiyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shemo tiferet ve'eli tfilah. במחשבה תחילה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי שלום, התרס בעלה, גם בשמחה, ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, יאי לי לי לי, יאי לה 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 לה, יאי לי לי, יאי לה 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 לה, יאי לי לי, יאי לה 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 לה, יאי לי לי, יאי
Page 146, our call to prayer, Baruchu. Please rise if you are able.
Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai continue with Roll Into Dark, our evening prayer. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Go there.
Page
We continue on page 152 with the words of Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. We continue on page 154 with V'ahavta. Please join with us. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadavarim ha'eleh asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta b'am b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvelechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ug'shartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchetavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'v'hisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim le'lohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Adonai Elohechem emet.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Micha Mocha, page 158.
Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Menorah tehilot, Moshe melech, Ichad Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael.
A blessing of peace, of shelter. Hashkivenu, page 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, ve'amidenu shalbrenu l'chayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us beneath your wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Baruch atah Adonai, haborei sukkot, shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
Shabbat is a sign of our eternal covenant, and we sing of that signed Vishamru, page 162.
Oh, sorry about that. Let's do capo 2. It'll be better. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריתותם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריתותם. ביני ובין בני ישראל עתיד לעולם, עתיד לעולם, עתיד לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריתותם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריתותם. וביום השביעי שבת ויינפש Shabbat, vayinafash, v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Pray as if everything depended on God. Act as if everything depended on you. Tefillah begins right now. The Amidah, please rise as we continue on page 164.
Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach, Ufi Tilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la la Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu V'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Kolei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'Meiri Geulah Libnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo v'Yahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Michayei hakol atah Rav le'Hoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid haGashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Tzomech noflim v'rofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom elach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh Yishmach kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
A few moments now for private prayer.
Page 178. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tov beinecha livarech et amecha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
We now offer Lamisha Berach Lecholim, a prayer for healing, healing of mind and body and spirit, for all those we hold in our hearts. We also especially think tonight of Ginny Anderson, Linder Derman, Mason Easley, Barbara Heiken, Marcy Rusoff, David Baruch Ben Simona, Derica Weddington, Eleanor Yawitz, Joan Carlin, and Carol Katz. If there's someone else that you are praying for, you can say their names aloud, picture them in your mind as we send all of our love and support and prayers for healing to them.
Healer of the brokenhearted, binder of our wounds, counter of uncountable stars.
The Bible often presents a polarized worldview constructed from opposing elements, strict categories of belief and action. There is to be no gray zone, no ambivalence, no confusion, no doubt. Din, rachamim, justice, mercy, loyalty, treachery, pure, impure, fear, desire. Uncomfortable with the blurry, the indeterminate, seeking to eradicate the liminal, biblical writers define the polarities of faith. In or out, these texts declare, with us or against us, all or nothing, good or evil. The revelation at Sinai, of which we are reading these weeks in the Torah, epitomizes this perspective. In a series of scenes in which figures ascend or descend, where holiness happens on high and apostasy down low, legalities are clarified, made sacrosanct. Boundaries are set, the terms of the covenant fixed for eternity. Last week, in Parashat Yitro, the Ten Commandments were proffered. This week, in Parashat Mishpatim, they are accepted. But first, the terms of covenant are read to the Israelites. And, famously, the people respond, Na'aseh v'nishma. They commit to the covenant and to God, and then, and only then, the two parties to this eternal covenant really start to get to know each other. That process of relationship building occupies the remaining narratives of the Torah. The essence of a covenant is commitment. Commitment involves risk and entails the limiting of choices. When you covenant with another, you are saying no as much as you are saying yes. I said those words right here in this sanctuary a little over a year ago on Super Bowl Sunday, during the only large-scale in-person Beth Am gathering of which I have taken part. Although we did not reenact Sinai in those moments together, when you ratified a contract with me, your new senior rabbi, our actions on that day shared elements of covenant making. And ever since, we've been learning about one another, getting to know each other, building trust with one another. Through this process of getting to know each other, one thing I have learned about you is that sometimes when a new rabbi arrives in a community, particularly during a pandemic, the experience can be, at least for some congregants, polarizing. What I do or don't do provokes anxiety, even anger. What I say, and even what I don't say or haven't yet said, raises concerns. For instance, I've been asked by a number of members of the congregation, why haven't I spoken out more frequently against anti-Semitism during these first months of my tenure? Others have expressed anxiety and dismay that the prioritization of our racial equity and justice work comes at the cost of fighting anti-Semitism and, relatedly, of opposing the BDS movement. Sometimes, as is the age-old minhag, custom, of congregants everywhere, these anxieties are expressed in angry or indignant letters addressed to the senior rabbi. The writers also usually CC the Board of Trustees, a custom adhered to with greater ease in the age of the internet and of email. But there also have been concerned congregants who, individually, have approached me from a place of inquiry, who begin our interactions with questions and not condemnation, and with whom I have developed a dialogue about these matters. These congregants, and you know who you are, recommended that I share with you what I told them when they asked these questions, since they found my answers useful. So I'm sharing this information with you, and I hope it is helpful for you too. It is true that since the beginning of my tenure, I have not spoken frequently about anti-Semitism. Although I believe consciousness raising is important, like many of you, I prioritize action over speech. And during the past 7 months, I, and more importantly, we, have taken actions to counter anti-Semitism locally and in our state. Many of us have been engaged in the efforts to determine the curriculum guidelines and content of California's ethnic studies model curriculum and have lobbied for the elimination of anti-Jewish and anti-Israel content and for the inclusion in the curriculum of Jewish narratives and of a definition of anti-Semitism. And on this evening, I want to acknowledge particularly the dedicated work of Maddie and Jeff Carmel, Joanne Donsky, Barb Wyndham, and other members of our JIAC committee, the work of Lauren Janoff, the guidance of Amy Gerstein, and the leadership of several Beth Am congregants who are board members of the JCRC. I too have been part of this ongoing advocacy. Although there are differences among us as to tactics and goals, we are all cautiously optimistic that the improvements from earlier versions of the curriculum will be ratified in March. And we will remain vigilant as the ESMC is implemented in every school district in California. A less visible effort, but potentially one of much greater impact than any number of speeches or presentations, is an improvement to our education program. I'm pleased to share with you that for the first time at Beth Am, we have incorporated Facing History and Ourselves Holocaust and Human Behavior curriculum into our religious schools offerings for our 7th graders. Through readings, primary source material, and short documentary films, this semester-long course explores the complex history of the Holocaust and prompts reflection on our world today. Facing History and Ourselves is a remarkable organization that uses lessons of history to challenge teachers and their students to stand up to bigotry and hate. This effective curriculum, with which I am very familiar from my work at Temple Israel in Boston, is the gold standard in Holocaust education for adolescents and teens. I am proud of our collective efforts to combat anti-Semitism through education. But congruent with these initiatives is our strategic prioritization of our racial equity and justice efforts. And of these, I have been publicly speaking and teaching. This multifaceted work, which is not new at Beth Am, but to which we are rededicating ourselves in new ways, will be an ongoing and long-term initiative. But we Jews have never shied away from complex, sometimes messy, generational change projects. Now, there are many reasons why our pursuit of racial equity and justice is interwoven with our struggle to uproot anti-Semitism, and admittedly, this can be hard to understand and difficult to articulate. But here's a summary. If we recognize that our security as Jews in America is inextricably linked to the safety of all peoples, then it is dependent on us to build alliances with other minorities in this country in order to create a society free from anti-Semitism, racism, and other forms of bigotry. This reasoning has become even more trenchant during the past 30 years, a period in which white nationalism has made its way from the margins of American political life to its center, a fact never more visible to us than on January 6th. To white nationalists, Jews are a separate and evil race, a powerful and often unseen force responsible for white dispossession. Eric Ward, the executive director of Western States Center, an organization that works nationwide to strengthen inclusive democracy, Ward writes, "Anti-Semitism forms the theoretical core of white nationalism. It is the fuel that white nationalist ideology uses to power its anti-black racism." Ward, who is black, has investigated white supremacism and its descendant, American white nationalism, throughout his career. His work has led him to this conclusion, and I quote, "I discovered that anti-Semitism is a particular and potent form of racism so central to white supremacy that black people would not win our freedom without tearing it down." Ward's statement compels our attention. Here is a black leader saying that anti-Semitism is a pernicious obstacle to his sense of freedom, his ability to live in peace in America. I would suggest this corollary to Ward's conclusion. The obstacle to our ability to live in peace as Jews in this country is structural racism. Perhaps it is easier to understand how our pursuit of racial equity and justice intertwines with our fight against anti-Semitism if this reasoning is expressed like a solution to a logic problem or a mathematical equation that goes like this. White supremacy is the polar opposite of anti-racism. Anti-racists stand in opposition to white supremacists. Since anti-Semitism fuels white supremacy, if we partner with our BIPOC allies to dismantle a caste system premised on skin color, a caste system in which we are all enmeshed, then our efforts will go a very long way towards eradicating anti-Semitism. Put simply, reductively, anti-racism work is good for the Jews. I consider sermons a pedagogic opportunity, a way to educate, to influence thought, to refocus our community. Preaching is a mode of communication that enables us all to more clearly view our lives through the lens of Jewish texts and traditions. Sermons may comfort and challenge. They answer questions and pose them. From time to time, which is to say, very rarely, divrei Torah and sermons may provoke changes in individual actions. But generally, sermons aren't a powerful tool to alter behaviors. More frequently, good sermonizing will, for a brief moment, clarify our collective aspirations and inspire our pursuit of them. And if I consider the divrei Torah and sermons that I have given during the past 20 years, I perceive as a thematic through line a focus on individual autonomy and collective power, our power to change ourselves and how, together, we can impact our world. In this sermon, I set out to answer two questions that have been repeatedly asked of me. I hope that what I've said tonight allays concerns that our racial equity and justice work comes at the cost of combating anti-Semitism. As for the other question, actions speak louder than words. But there is one more reason why I infrequently speak about anti-Semitism from the pulpit. It is simply because you are not anti-Semites. We are not anti-Semites. And one thing we don't need to work on or change about ourselves is our anti-Semitism. Anti-Semites need to work on eradicating their anti-Semitism. They should change that about themselves. I don't speak to, teach, pastor, lead a community of anti-Semites. No, I teach and lead and speak to you, a large and diverse community of Jews and non-Jewish partners and allies. And although I'd like the religious leaders of anti-Semites and white supremacists to teach what I teach, they don't and they will not. What they teach is a polarizing worldview. They preach a conception of justice that is a zero-sum game of either or, with us or against us, pure or impure, European or non-European, non-Jew or Jew, white or black. A little over a year ago, the one time that I stood with you in this space, I spoke of how covenant making is an auditory and visual experience. Whether at Sinai or under the chuppah or right here in this sanctuary, the two parties who are about to forge a covenant must hear and see one another. And what I saw then, Betham, a year ago, I see even more clearly now. I see a community that expects excellence and welcomes challenge, that values nuance and does not sidestep complexity. And what I see too is that our pursuit of justice is not zero-sum. It's not either or, it is both and. We are a community willing to grapple with both and. We need to contend with anti-Semitism, and we have access to high-quality healthcare, education, and jobs. We are threatened by anti-Semitism, and when needed, we can count on fair treatment from our justice system. There is anti-Semitism in America, and most of us, not all, but most of us do not fear gun violence and the police when we leave our homes. We are living in a period of rising anti-Semitism, and we, collectively, have access to and wield financial and juridical power. When we are threatened, fearful, worried, attacked, we know who to call. We have allies who will stand shoulder to shoulder with us when we confront hatred and bigotry. We have the security of privilege. And whether we earned it through hard work or have been granted it solely because of the color of our skin, most of us benefit from this privilege, a word which might simply be best understood as a synonym for power. This is a sermon that began with two of your questions, and I'm about to conclude it by posing one of my own. Questions. All of these questions. It's how you know that this is a Jewish sermon. And if you have any concerns or questions about what I said this evening, I want to encourage you to simply reach out to set up a time to meet with me to talk. I promise that if you repurpose the amount of time needed to write an angry email into a 45-minute conversation with me, you'll be much happier with the outcome. A hope, a fervent hope that I have for us, Betham, is that we, together, can break the chains of the age-old Jewish custom of writing angry letters to the senior rabbi. There. See what I just did? I spoke an aspiration that I have for our community. But I know, and as I said, sermons are not the best tool to alter behaviors. So here's my question, and with this I'll conclude. How should we, Betham, wield our power to address the ever-increasing socioeconomic polarization in America? Shabbat Shalom.
We turn to page 586 and rise for Aleinu. It's up to us.
Aleinu nishabeach
Ladon
HaKol,
Take it ula liotzer breshit. Lo asanu kagayei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishtachot ha'adama. Shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonan. V'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim,
page 594. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be, and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me. Your laugh once lifted me. Your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. As I say the name of your loved one, if you'd like to rise in their honor, please do. Lost to our Beth Am community this week was Marjorie Smerling Goldbaum, sister of our member Nancy Fogel, sister-in-law of Michael, aunt of Lauren Fogel, Rafe Fogel, our members Cindy Schlesinger and John, and the great aunt of Alexander. Our member Ruth Seiler, mother of members Carol Seiler Roberts and Richard Seiler, mother-in-law of Susan, grandmother of Corey Roberts, Mark and Fereshta Roberts, Matthew Seiler, and Alexandra Seiler Spicer, and Alexander Spicer, and great-grandmother of Madison Roberts, and Jeanette Bornstein, cousin of Sherry and Fred Half. We're observing Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning, for Sid Schieber, Carolyn Kozloff, Alan Weber, Lois Moskowitz Goldberg, Judy Groen, Debbie Bicknell, Shlomo Alter, Doris Beanstalk Cohen, Gary Zweig, Ruth Marks, and Sherman Shore. And we remember those whose yahrzeit, whose anniversary of death fall this week. Alan Alderman, Michael Avrutin, Catherine Bauer, Daryl Behrman, Arcady Berenberg, Joan Marilyn Burkett, Ralph Reuben Burson, Harold Brook, Sylvia Chesson, Randy Cohan, Laura Cohn, Leonard Daly, Fran Eisenstadt, Carol Elias, Jules Frankel, Shirley Levitt Gaynor, Burke Gelfand, Rebecca Gelman, Abe Gerber, Marietta Gianetti, Rose Glassman, Norman Goldfarb, Rose Rubenstein Gordon, Melvin Grace, Stephen Hallert, Florence Herbach, Shirley Holden, Harold Hoppy, Alvin Jaffe, John Jeffries, Elliot Josephson, Babette Kabak, Ruben Kahanovitz, Annette Kahn, Marcia Kelman, Roberta Kamen, Jeanette Cameron, Benedict Katz, Richard Kaufman, Vera Keller, Helen Kraus, Daniel Levinson, Morris Levinson, Mary Levy, Rita Lieberman, Cy Mark, Barbara Mindell, Elizabeth Namias, Sally Nissim, Jim Oshry, Nathan Raymer, Israel Rudman, Herbie Savell, David Sachs, Doris Schatz, Harriet Schnur, Sveta Siegel, Seymour Seidcher, Bertie Seiler, Judith Shane, Elaine Schulman, Janessia Schwartz, Bernice Siegel, Leota Silton, Helen Snyder Simmons, Harry Springer, Marvin Stark, Phil Sugarman, Ida Swartz, Joseph Taub, Sylvia Toder, Josephine Usow, Rudy Vero, Alice Weitzner, Sarah Westerman, and Ruth Zeligs. If there's someone else that you're missing, can rise, say their name aloud as we recite the words of Kaddish together on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divra chibrute ve'amlich malchute, v'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, va'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Leolam Ulalmei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal Shemei Dekudsha Barichu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi Shalama Rabba min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. This month we are supporting, with our tzedakah, we are supporting Move Mountain View, which is a nonprofit that brings faith communities, nonprofits, and government agencies together to combat the effects of the growing crisis of homelessness in Mountain View and surrounding cities. You can learn more about it on our website. We hope you will give generously through our website or by sending a check to the office. And as always, we invite you to our foyer after the service. There it is. Look how happy they are. You should join them. They want to see you. Right after the service, you can go to that website and get on the Zoom. And we will close our service with,
Od yavo shalom.
take it away.
Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam shalom. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam shalom. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam, salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam.
Seeing Rabbi Wademaker's smiling face on that screenshot of the foyer reminds me to tell you that even though you haven't seen them recently, here on a Friday night during this hour, I want to let you know that Rabbi Wadenmaker was leading a service just earlier tonight for our young families. And of course, Rabbi Prosnit is on paternity leave this month. But I know they join with us in wishing you a very happy and restful Shabbat. And so please join with me now for Motzi, if you've got a challah handy. Oh yeah, reach out there, colleagues. Nice. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Take good care.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you, Ken.
Yay, Ken. Let's do an outro, huh?